It's 5:30, and so we will get started and start with a roll call. Hold on, I'm trying to plug in my lights. Present.
Mrs. Schmidt. Present. Mr. Munoz.
Present.
Mr. Tatum.
Here.
Mrs. Boley. Dr. Beeson.
Here.
Dr. Bonebreak. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we will move. We are going to have two motions for executive session. We'll start with one, and then we will come out for the second one. So I'm looking for a motion for our first half.
Mr. President, I move the USD 501 Board of Education recess into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss confidential personnel matters to protect the privacy of the individuals being discussed pursuant to the personnel exception in the Kansas Open Meetings Act for 15 minutes and to return to open session in the boardroom at 5:46 p.m. The superintendent and leadership team are invited into executive session.
Is there a second? Ms. Boley, any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll go for a vote.
And the vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Yes. I'm ready for a motion.
I move the Board of Education of USD 501 recess into executive session for 15 minutes for consultation with our attorney on matters protected by the attorney-client privilege to protect the board's position in potential litigation. The board will return to open session in the boardroom at 6:03 PM. The superintendent and board attorney are invited into executive session.
Second.
Second.
Yes. Everybody in favor?
Mark, you all?
Say
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. I'll do it right now, yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get back started. And before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, there were a few losses in our 501 family over the last 2 weeks. So I wanted to have a moment of silence for both Mr. Kingston Scott from Topeka West, but also Isaac Reynolds and his family from Whitson. So if everybody could join me in just a moment of silence. Thank you. So we will move on through the agenda. And next we have the Pledge of Allegiance. And usually there's a student in the crowd that says the Pledge of Allegiance for us. And
we have the madrigals, I believe,
yeah,
in
and
the
there's one of
crowd.
the madrigals is up and standing, and so she must be volunteering. But we will join her in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And then we will do a little bit of business and then listen to it'll take like 5 seconds. We need to adopt the agenda. So I'm going to look for a motion on that.
Mr. President, I move the board adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Mr. Tatum, thank you. Is there any discussion on that item? Okay, if not, we will vote.
All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Great. Now we get to enjoy our school highlights. And Dr. Anderson is joining us virtually. And so I'm not sure if she wants to speak, but we have the Madrigals here from Topeka High, and we are excited to hear from them.
Absolutely. And I really don't have much to say. We're going to turn it over to the madrigals. They are amazing. And if you guys position yourself somewhere kind of in the middle where the everyone outside, that the other thousands of people that'll be watching this on YouTube can see you all, and welcome. We are so proud of you.
Yes, this is Topeka High Madrigals and our first, the O Come All Ye Faithful. Pieces. Hear that?
let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Praise the Lord. Making triumphantes, believes
The second song will be Mary Had a Baby by William Dawson. Bass.
Where was he born? In a manger. Where was he born? Born in a manger.
He had a baby. What did they call him?
Jesus.
Daddy had a baby.
He is called King Jesus, mighty counselor. Emmanuel, mighty God, everlasting Father.
Right. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We really appreciate being here. Our last song will be Boom, Boom, Boom.
On December 5 in 20, boom, boom, boom. On December 5 in 20, boom, boom, boom. On child was born this night, so rosy white, so rosy white. And very beautiful, in a stable, mean and lonely, boom, boom, boom. On December 5 in 20, boom, boom, boom. On December 5 and 20, boom, boom. On December's most important day, let us be gay, let us be gay. We go first to church and then we have the sweetest buns and candy. Boom, 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 boom. God will send us days of feasting. Boom, 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 boom. God will send us days of feasting. Boom, boom, boom. Up on Sunday cold for young and old, for young and old. Story ever singing of his glory. Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you all so much. Whip, while you are, thank you all so much. Wait a minute, don't move, don't move. We want to at least hear who you are, what grade levels you're in. And we have a certificate for you as well. So give us just a moment. And then if you all right now, your backs are to the board, so everyone here can see you. But if you can kind of, I know the board's going to want to ask you some questions. So Dr. Gray has a microphone. Can you share what grade level you're in, and if you're a senior and you know what you're going to do next year? But you don't have to look at me. Yeah, the board and the community wants to hear you.
Say what?
Oh, hi, I'm Ziona. I'm a senior.
I'm Kenzie. I'm a junior.
I'm Alfredo. I am a senior.
I'm George. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Aaron. I'm a senior.
I'm Leo. I'm a junior.
I'm Matthew. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Rowan. I'm a senior.
I'm Maya. I'm a junior. I'm Anna. I'm a senior.
I'm Sophia. I'm also a senior.
All right, and Ms. Chavez, I know it's somewhere in that room. Dr. Gray has a certificate for her. She is an incredible leader, and you all are absolutely amazing. We're going to turn it over to the board for a few questions and then take a photo with the board and take a brief break.
Yes, thank you all. As a parent of a senior at Topeka High, I've been able to enjoy a lot of you guys through performances and friendship, and it was very fantastic to start a meeting like this. Board meetings are generally kind of boring and hard, and this really makes it a lot better. So I want to say thank you personally as a Schumacher, but also as a board member. Are there questions or comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Munoz.
More of curiosity, I imagine you are able to perform in lots of different places, right? What are some of your most favorite performances or places that you get to go as a part of the Madrigals?
Once in a while, we will practice some of my because it has great acoustics, and I love doing that because it shares my music with the school, but it's also, I don't know, it gives me school spirit.
We have a lot of like official gigs, but one of my favorite things to do at Christmas time is the students organize a caroling where we'll go to like our family's houses and stuff like that, and we all like have a party before, and then we go sing together, and that's one of my favorite things to do.
This is my first year as a madrigal, so I haven't done like as much of some of these people. But my favorite that I've done so far is the Renaissance Festival. That was really cool.
So especially around holiday season, we'll go out and we'll carol for people, as Anna said, but we sometimes go to retirement homes, and those are especially heartwarming because no matter which one it is, they're always so grateful to see just young faces singing, and it's very sweet.
That's great. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Rowan, you can go. You can't go.
One of my favorite places to sing is we'll go on an elementary school tour where Madrigals and Robed Choir will go to a lot of the elementary schools and we'll go sing for them, and that's always cool to see them.
That's great. Thank you, Rowan. Yeah, Mrs. Schmidt.
So as a parent of a former madrigal, it is always so fun to watch you guys grow as you do this and develop your not only your singing skills, but your ability to interact with people and engage in your concerts. And I know my daughter still talks about her time in madrigals. And my favorite concert is the Mother's Day concert. Do you guys still do that? Boo hoo. Oh, yes, but seniors, they always did a Mother's Day concert and the seniors handed their moms a rose. And let me tell you, after traveling as a parent, after traveling and watching your kid do all these things for 4 years, and it's just like this accumulation, right? Culmination that not only are you a senior, and we just watched you grow and do all these things. It was just a real tearjerker. You should do that one again.
Other comments or Dr. Bombrake?
Is there a fee involved? If we pay you enough, will you come some private place or?
Yeah.
Name a high price for Dr. Bombrake. Other comments? Okay, thank you guys very much. I think we're gonna do a picture before you guys go.
We will,
real
and
quick.
we do want to acknowledge Mr. Reynolds. I believe he's in the audience. He
Yes.
is our leader over fine arts. Thank you, Mr. Reynolds, just as we thank Ms. Chavez for all that she does. Mr. Reynolds, did you want to make any final comment? I know we have a lot of fine art stuff going on this week and
Thank
this
you,
month.
Dr. Anderson and board. One thing I would like to say is I hope you noticed that the two of the three songs were student led. And as we continue with our education, we want to make ourselves as teachers step back and let those students take over. An amazing job. Thank you very much. Yes, thanks for your performance. December 17th is the festive carols at Topeka High. Yeah, there you go. 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. All right, I believe you guys are going to take a photo. Or you're going to take a quick break to take that as the board members come from around their space. So you can stay right where you are, and Dr. Gray will lead you to the photo space.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, everyone over here on three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we will move on to our next section, which is public communications. Okay, so we will move on to business by consent.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Is there a second to that? Mr. Munoz? Is there discussion or questions on any of the consent items? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the motion carries 6 yay and 1 nay. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I believe we give it to Dr. Anderson for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Every year we have Mr. Wooler, or the executive director for the Topeka Public Schools Foundation, here to talk about the Highlander and the Hummer Sports Park. So the team that the financial team that's behind that, they are here this evening with Mr. Willer. Mr. Willer is new into the role. Mr. Willer, I'll turn it over to you if there are any comments you want to share to get us started, and then we'll turn it over to the individuals that are present today to talk about the Highlander and Hummer. This is an evening to talk about facilities, so when they finish, we also want to go directly into DLR. So Mr. Willer, I'll stop for just a moment to see if he's here this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce Jim and Barbara, and they can come up and speak about the investments in the Hummer Sports Park. We are lucky at the foundation that Clayton Wealth Partners does such a wonderful job of being custodians of our funds, and as well as Hummer Sports Park funds. And I'm going to turn it over to them and let them go into the details.
Hello, I'm Barbara Duncan with Clayton Wealth Partners, and I believe you guys do have our report that we turned in. So I will quickly just go over sort of the status of it, and then Jim will talk a little bit about just what we've seen this year with the investments. But the first page just kind of gives you a history going back to 2005 of the balance of the fund as it's been used for projects and as it's grown over time. And then the second page really gives you a bit, kind of a broad picture of how it's allocated and rates of return. And I'll just really focus on that it's been a great year in the markets. Year to date, as of the end of October, it was up about 14%. Over the last 3 years, it's earned about 14% each year annualized. And over the last 10 years, it's averaged about 8.5%. So it's done well. You've been able to use it for a lot of improvements at the park, which is the goal of the funds. Are there any questions on the report that we had submitted?
Any questions?
All right, well then I will turn it over to Jim to give a brief update.
Good evening. My name is Jim Walden. I'm the firm's Chief Investment Officer. Thanks for having us tonight. So every year is unique in its own way in regards to the economy and financial markets. And 2025 may seem exceptionally so because of changes in policy as well as artificial intelligence. The U.S. economy does continue to grow, albeit at an uneven pace. We did experience a little bit of whiplash in the first half of the year around changes in trade policy. But on average for the first half of the year, while there was still positive growth, it did come in at below trend growth rates. For 2025 as a whole, when final numbers do come in, we do expect to see positive growth for the full year. Consumer spending is the workhorse of our economy, accounting for about 2/3 of GDP. And that is being increasingly powered by consumers that are both wealthier as well as older. That's the so-called wealth effect that we may have heard of. Investment contributes an additional 20% to GDP, and that is being driven entirely by the continued build out of AI infrastructure. And that build out by itself now is responsible for half of our economic growth. So net, the economy is experiencing growth. However, we prefer to see all the horses pulling in the same direction, if you will. Now, over the past few years, we've seen quite a bit of progress in bringing down inflation. However, it does remain above the Federal Reserve's long-stated target of 2%. And over the past few months, we've actually seen that reaccelerate due in large part from pass-through of tariff costs to consumers. And the Fed is responsible for that. That said, though, the Fed has once again begun cutting interest rates as it has seen some signs of softness in the labor markets. And while softness in the jobs market, increases in layoff announcements are concerning to be sure, we do think the overall impact on the jobs picture as a whole should be mitigated because the labor supply does remain exceptionally tight. So, there will be unfortunately winners and losers, but as a group of workers, we do think that the impact will be mitigated. Now, also in there is the wild card that is AI. That's a story to be continued. But with all this as a backdrop, as Barbara mentioned, as the numbers that you see indicate, global stock market remains in an uptrend, which is of course a good thing. Interest rates remain in a downtrend, which again is a good thing. And we would say that going forward, as we kind of turn the corner into 2026, of all the important factors that influence financial markets, we would probably put the level and rate of change of interest rates at the top of the list. And we think that those should continue to be supportive, all else equal. And I'll wrap up my brief comments here very quickly with just a couple of thoughts around AI, the topic du jour, if you will. And we've seen a lot of back and forth discussion about, are we in an AI stock bubble that harkens back to the .com era? And for us at this point in time, I would say that it's not very clear to us. If we are in one, we would argue that we are in the early stages of one, and that any comparison to 1999 and 2000, as we sit here today, seems a bit premature. A couple of really big differences between today and 25 years ago. We do acknowledge that stocks today are expensive, but when you look at stock market valuations compared to then, they are far less elevated. Also, the companies that are comprising, some of these popular names, if you will, a big difference between now and then. Today's companies are very good companies that are enjoying real growth, real profits, and real cash. That really can't be said about some of those high flyers back then. So we do make that distinction. Regardless, though, that is why we diversify. We do make investments in companies that are not tech related, that are international, and also we do have exposure to smaller companies here in the United States as well, in addition to some high quality fixed income. So we think that the portfolios are well positioned for 2026. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Any question? Dr. Bonebrake.
Have the sports parks produced any income? If so, how much?
So we'll take a stab at that one.
Do you mean the portfolio?
Yeah, I think that's a separate question, Dr. Bonebrake. This is specifically the portfolio through the foundation.
The
But
investment.
don't they have an income from the sports park? So
I don't think that goes to the portfolio. That goes to a separate.
We can comment on the income that the portfolio
Yeah.
itself makes, not the facility.
The portfolios through the foundation, which is siloed from
where does that-
TPS.
So we just give a certain amount of money and hope it grows.
Oh, it's there already.
Sure.
So this was money, and I can't speak to where all of it came from, but for at least the last 10 years, there haven't been any new contributions. This was sort of a pot of money that was created to grow, to be able to do improvements, but it's not, new money doesn't really flow into it.
Correct. Yeah. Does that help, Dr. Bonebrake?
Where'd all that money come from?
Mr. Minky, do you know where the Hummer Foundation, the sports park? Mr. Minky, did you donate that money to
I want
this?
right now on the sports park.
You taking it out?
At the inception of the sports park in 2003, there were many donors, particularly the Hummers. But there and had a full-time person that was grooming some of those donations for the seed money for that foundation to establish the sports park fund. And we benefit annually, thankfully, from the foundation sports park fund. Typically, we request about 5% typically of the the gross fund value annually for maintenance and repairs. And graciously, the foundation allowed us to request quite a bit more than that for the replacement track, because that was about a $1.6 million project out there a year and a half ago with the parking. But those dollars, again, largely raised and donation dollars. And I think the dollars you're talking about, probably Dr. Bonebreaker, are more operational dollars that flow into Fund 5871 that you see on our unencumbered cash balances that we would get from gate receipts and that. So again, the real answer I think you're looking for is it takes a combination of all these pockets of money in order to support the maintenance efforts out at the sports park and keep it, you know, in that really first-class facility that we think it is.
That was perfect. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah.
And that way we keep the fund growing because we're not taking out of the foundation.
Yeah, I mean, we really try to throttle it annually, what the request is. Yep.
Other questions for Jim or Barbara? Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you again so much. We appreciate you and all that you do to support Topeka Public Schools. As we continue with the facilities theme, we do want to take just a moment to acknowledge our new Executive Director of Operations. He starts in January. I believe Dr. Gray is coming to the podium to give a little background, and he's in the audience and will stand. And when we conclude with that introduction, then we'll go straight into the facilities presentation and hear from DLR. Dr. Gray?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Anderson. Topeka Public Schools is pleased to welcome Mr. Brad Isnert as the new District Executive Director of Operation. He brings strong experience in educational finance, operation management, organization leadership, and community service. Mr. Isnert currently serves as the Executive Director of Finance for Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, where he oversees budgeting, compliance, and strategic resource planning. He has been recognized for strengthening financial transparency and improving operational systems that support student learning. He also serves on the Board of Trustees for Kansas City, Kansas Community College, including 2 years as board chair and on the Board of Directors for Leadership 2000 in Wyandotte County. Mr. Isnert holds a bachelor and master's degree in business administration and is committed to creating safe, efficient, and equitable learning environments for staff and students. Let's give a round of applause for Mr. Isnert. I believe Mr. Isnert will say a few things.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to speak with you earlier tonight as well, but just want to say again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to joining this great team that I've had the opportunity to meet today and get to know some in January. So I am looking forward to the work ahead and working with you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isnert.
And at this time, we'll be bringing Mr. Schaefer to the podium to introduce DLR. And for those that haven't been tuning in regards to why we're in this space, Mr. Schaefer, can you just give some context to new viewers and listeners on what DLR will be talking about? And we'll turn it over to that dynamic team.
Certainly. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, and thank you, members of the board. Tonight, we are going over the scope of our partnership with DLR Group, which is a architecture firm based out of Kansas City, who will be performing a facilities conditions assessment over all of our district buildings and properties. And from that conditions assessment, they will be developing a roadmap through what we would call a facilities master plan that will help set the foundation on how we address deferred maintenance and programmatic improvements over the next 3, 5, and 10 years. So with that being said, our partners are here from DLR Group, and I'll have them introduce themselves and give you a nice overview of what they're going to be providing to us as a product.
Thank you so much, Nate, and thank you, Dr. Anderson and the Board of Ed for having us here tonight. I think we'll dive into our presentation, but before we do that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Ian Kilpatrick. I lead our education practice in Kansas City for DLR Group, and I'm joined by my colleague here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Judy Hoskins. I'm a national K-12 planner with DLR Group, and I love working on master plans with districts.
So we'll start off kind of kicking off with some of our facility master planning background. And again, please feel free to interrupt if you have questions, or we can save those to the end. But we'll go to the next slide. So we want to kick off first and foremost our approach. We'll dive a little bit more into the facility condition assessment that Nate spoke to earlier, but Judy's going to walk you through kind of our holistic approach to educational facility plans.
Thanks, Ian. What you're seeing on the screen are the 4 major components to our approach. And I want to emphasize that as each district is unique, we tailor our approach accordingly so that it's aligned with your unique goals and aspirations. And so there are 2 basic forms to the analysis and assessment that we will be doing with your facilities. One is called the facility condition assessment, and that really looks at literally the physical condition of your facilities, your mechanical systems, your lighting, all of the condition of the carpeting and lighting, et cetera. The other part is what's called an educational suitability assessment, oftentimes also referred to as an educational adequacy assessment. It's not just enough to have the right quantity of spaces, but do you have the right kinds of spaces needed to support your educational delivery programs? Next slide, please. So the value of a long-range facility plan is it really is that roadmap. It takes a look at not just where you are today, but where you hope to go in the future. Next. You will notice throughout this process that it is inquiry-based. We ask a lot of questions. We know that we can't get to the right answers if we're not asking the right questions. We ask a lot of questions, then we listen. And that builds trust, which is really critical to any successful long-range facility plan. Next, please. Ian, you want to talk about the schedule?
I will. So as we're up against the schedule, our team was fortunate enough to kick off yesterday this long-range plan, and that starts our long journey, not only on the facility condition assessment, which will start here in the immediate future, but also through that capacity study and understanding how your buildings are being utilized. All of that to say, we won't dive into the details of this, but with very, very frequent touch points with the leadership team here in the district, community, the board, all of those stakeholders will be shooting to target a finished product by the end of the school year. And so that would be when that deliverable of a final master plan document comes your way, as well as some of the digital interface that we'll speak about in a little bit.
So this is just an example of what I was talking about previously, that we look at capacity and utilization. Do we have the right quantity of spaces to support the number of students that you need to be able to accommodate? Next. And so it's not also just a matter of how those spaces were originally designed, but we also look at comparing that to how are they actually used? Because as we know, things change and sometimes those spaces aren't being used as they were originally designed to. So we need to take that into consideration as we assess how those spaces are being used and if we have the right kinds of spaces. Next. We use a number of methods to gather our information. What you're looking at on the left side of the screen there is what we call our educational suitability assessment forms. And those are distributed to each school, and they help us, again, understand how those spaces are being used. We report the results in a variety of ways, and that you see an example on the right side of the screen where each school will receive both a numerical score as well as those numbers are assigned a color, so that for those individuals that were not a part of any of the conversations, a parent in your community can go to the website and understand how and why each school received the score that it did. Those scores are based on criteria that will be developed together with the district to make sure that, again, that we are assessing the right things for Topeka Public Schools. Next, please.
Perfect. So as we get into this facility condition assessment, really where we're looking at the condition of your bricks and mortars, and to Judy's point, all the things that go into our buildings, it first really starts with that pre-survey. We want to understand from your perspective and lived experience what's working and what's not. We don't spend our days in your buildings, your educators and your administrators do. So that's our first kind of gut check. We're getting ready then to launch a pilot, which will pick a specific campus. We'll work hand in hand with the facilities team and leadership at the district to understand what we're looking for, what are the standards that we want to apply. We'll conduct that site assessment together, build a report, and then review that draft report together before we ever go into another facility and the rest of your campuses across the district. Once we're set and we have that trajectory, we understand what that product wants to look like, we get into the assessments of all your facilities. And that's when our teams will be out in the buildings. We'll have strategic messaging to building leadership to ensure that everyone is aware of what's happening. We'll make sure that our teams are respecting your blackout dates, all of those nuances that come with running a school district. And then finally, once we gather all of that data, it's an enormous data dump into our systems where we'll be able to then put out a number of deliverables, which we'll speak to in just a moment. And so here's just a screenshot of some of that data collection, but our teams are out there with iPads, and there's software systems that are built to understand not only just the conditions of all of your buildings, but also to barcode and label all of your assets, specifically mechanical equipment. So we'll be going through and doing that as a piece of this facility condition assessment to help that facilities team understand what is the end of life of a lot of these systems and help prioritize with that data what needs to be replaced first. You see also some of the images here. We'll pull out key findings. We'll take lots of photos. We'll have an enormous amount of data just to cull through. And that ultimately helps us not only understand the conditions of your facilities, but to start to then put a dollar amount, a cost estimate to some of that deferred maintenance, because ultimately that's what this facility master plan has to inform. It has to inform decision-making with a data-driven solution. And here, just kind of looking again at each facility, we're able to start to look at the trajectory of what that facility condition is and how much it is going to continue to increase in cost from a deferred maintenance standpoint. So a lot of these softwares, and Power BI is a great platform that we love to leverage. They're data visualizations to help us understand long-term what are the impacts of not doing anything to this building, or if we are to start to tackle some of these deferred maintenance items, how we can scale that down in the future. Furthermore, we've got an online platform called Asset Calc, and we're working to integrate that with Incident IQ, which is the platform that the district here uses for tracking a lot of the facilities data. And so that integration has all of this data, and all of this access is handed to you as an end deliverable. So we're not paying any sort of subscription fees. We're not making you renew with us. This is your data to own for the long term and to be able to update as a live document when the district is able to tackle various projects throughout the year. And that really brings it all together in a deliverable. We're fundamental believers that a lot of times when we go into districts and do these master plans, we found that print document, that PDF binder, it gets printed and it gets put on a shelf and it never changes. And that's not what we like to see. We really like the digital aspect of our master planning. And if we take a look at the next slide, you'll see an example from Kansas City Public Schools that we were able to do. This is a dashboard platform that we can create really two portals for. We can have one on the backside for the district that has access to all of the data that we're collecting. And we can have one that is publicly facing for your community to understand the status of your buildings. And you'll see on this screenshot, here's an example of Central High School. It has that building condition score, that learning environment score, further breakdowns, general information about how many students, how large is the building, when was the building built, and how many times was it added on to. And then we're also able to highlight some of the phased recommendations. So for instance, if you have a building that is in need of HVAC repair, we say phase 1 recommendation, that is what we would tackle first, and phase 2, so that not only are you able to, in a snapshot, look and kind of cross-section this data, but your community is able to as well. So in the future, when projects or opportunities present themselves to do projects, or even a bond referendum, we find a lot of success where the community can see very transparently, there's a reason that Topeka High School, that's the priority. It's because this data shows that's where we need to invest. And so we feel very strongly that this not only becomes a digital interactive platform, but it is also a living document that's updated as the district is able to take on projects throughout years. And so with that, it was a very abbreviated version of a much longer interview story that we've painted. But if you have any questions, we would love to answer those tonight.
Other questions? Yeah, Ms. Boley.
When you talk about gathering your data and speaking to people in the building, and who are in the example that you had up there, the school district, who did you speak to and what did that look like?
It's really driven by the district. And so that's something we talked about yesterday, is understanding who are those key stakeholders. A lot of times it's your building leadership. So your principals, they know a lot about how their buildings are operating. It's also your maintenance staff, your facilities, janitorial staff, because they are the ones who are maintaining these buildings day to day. And so in our kickoff, that was something identified as a need. We need to identify who that right person is at each campus across the district, as well as that kind of central team here at central office to make sure that we're asking the right people the right questions.
Thank you. That helps.
Yeah.
Dr. Baumbright.
So this is another 6-month plan assessment, and you'll continue to query with these same people and reassess as time goes by?
Yes, sir. So really the data collection is about a 2.5 to 3 month process. We'll be out of the buildings very soon, and we want to limit the disruption to learning. It's the subsequent 4 months, I would say, where we're really co-creating those dashboard platforms. We're reviewing drafts of this facility master plan. So at the end of the day, this isn't a document that we drove the vision of. It's a document that TPS drove the vision of.
With 32 buildings, how many people are doing this?
We'll have multiple teams deployed out to your buildings, and we have a great partner in Bureau Veritas who their entire business is predicated on these assessments. They've built these softwares. They have experts that go out to buildings across the country, and so they'll be assisting too with all of the labor. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of buildings to walk through.
Mr. Tatum.
I think my question is probably more for Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Minke. What I've heard, my curiosity is absolutely piqued. I will be eager to see what comes out of this assessment. We're talking about doing a analysis and assessment of the conditions of all the buildings. I think the schools come to mind most readily, but there's a lot of, we own a lot of property. So just making sure, and I know we've talked about this a little bit in the finance committee, but just for clarity's sake, just trying to understand all of the buildings that we own are going to be assessed and analyzed with this process. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Buildings that have viability. I mean, we own some properties at Kansas, right? We're not gonna have walk in a building that we know is gonna be demolished at some point. So I just want to make sure, right? The existing buildings that have viability and have a viable use today. Yes, absolutely.
Is that the criteria?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I think that sounds reasonable. Just trying to get a fuller understanding of how this is going to unroll.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Bully.
I just want to know that when you bring that back to us, do you also bring wine and beer?
Off-site, but yes, happy to do that.
So we can meet off-site and as we wrestle with how to make our district just a premier district. Yeah, wine and beer would be nice. Thanks.
You speak my language.
Is that in the contract? Is that?
That's just a perk that we'll throw in.
One more thing I wanted to add about that data-driven dashboard is it allows you to run different scenarios and see the cost ramifications of those so that ultimately you can make the most informed decisions that are, again, best aligned with your needs and goals.
I'm really excited by your software. It seems like it's going to be so useful for us as a whole district to make our best decisions to upgrade what we need to. We have quite a few older buildings, so.
And it's much easier
Yeah.
to stand behind data than it is personal opinion.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so excited because it's just going to drive our decision making on what's best for our district. So I appreciate the software that you have and your knowledge. I'm excited about this, but I still want the beer and wine.
Deal. Deal.
Mrs. Schmidt.
I want to say the piece that I appreciate and look forward to is the transparency that it's going to create. The dashboards that we make available for the taxpayer who's footing the bill, that's going to be huge. So I look forward to that piece.
It's a game changer, and it's it's ultimately, I think, too, attributed to a lot of the success with Kansas City Public Schools' historic bond referendum this past spring.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Other thoughts? Yeah, Mr. Munoz.
I think the part of knowing the current status and condition of every building, I think is really important. But I think the other part of it is, how do we use this information to create a clear vision for what we see and vision for USD 501 in our schools? And I think that's the part. Your data helps start those conversations or get a clearer picture of the current status of all our buildings so that school districts that you've worked with have been able to go on to sort of have a better understanding of where we are in order to figure out how to get to where we'd like to be. Is that?
Absolutely. And I'll say we'll layer on too in this planning process an equity-based lens, because your decision-making can't just be driven by the numbers, right? We've been in districts where you have a facility that's sort of an outlier and its boundaries draw a certain community. Well, their access to transportation, access to healthcare, access to food, that's just as important. It may make more sense to keep that school open and consolidate another in a lot of urban districts we work in. And so those are things that'll start to layer on top of just the data here once we get into that planning piece.
Yeah, I think the whole board appreciates that. Other comments or questions? I just want to say thank you. This was very helpful and nice for both of you and your whole team to spend some time and come talk to us tonight. And I think I can also speak for the board that obviously we're excited to move forward. It does seem like an impossible amount of data for you guys to collect over the next
Make it simple for
2
you.
to 3 months, but yes, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the time tonight.
Thank you.
That does conclude the superintendent's report. The only other item that I will mention when you get to discussions, the calendar, the staff voted with an over 82% selection for a particular calendar. So as you discuss it tonight, you could also act to approve that, or you could save that for the next meeting. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Schumacher.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Anderson. So up next, we have a couple discussion items. First, we have the recommended policy and regulation changes, and I'll allow Mrs. Whiteman to speak to those.
Good evening. Under item number 20.1, you will see attached the 3 policies and 4 board regulations that the policy committee has reviewed and are recommending changes to the board for approval. This will be just a discussion item. As per your policy, you discuss one board meeting and then vote on it the next meeting. So these will also be on the agenda on the 18th. This will give an opportunity if you have questions or edits that you want us to consider, that can be done at that time. Let's do them in numerical order. 2935 is the policy. It's the acceptable use of computers. It was a long title, so we're changing the title to just acceptable use of technology. And adding the heading rules and requirements. The language is updated to current practices and procedures, and most of the edits are just clarification and consolidation. The goal is always to make both the policies and regulations as simple as possible and not to include anything extra that is not actually needed. We did update some of the language. The MySpace is deleted, and those who are much more familiar with the actual use of social media than myself recommended we add TikTok and Snapchat. That's added on page 4. The regulation behind that is 2935, use of the internet. Again, the title was changed and their basic language updates to clarify, make the language more concise. The goal is generally to try to make the language as tight and as a district court judge told me years ago, fewer words are always better. So 2935-2, computer and electronic security responsibilities. This whole regulation is being deleted in extensive discussions with Mr. Reinert. If you recall, this is the regulation that had also 64 pages of code, computer code, actually in the regulation. Those were deleted by the board earlier, and now we're recommending that the regulation be deleted. All the language that has been deleted is either addressed in other policies or other IT technology operational procedures rather than having it in a regulation. The number 293503, the use of social networking sites, it addresses really employee use of publicly available or district approved social media sites, but it also separates out and makes some recommendations for personal use of social media during the work time. It prohibits that, but it also adds that section 5. If you note behind this regulation, there was an attached page of guidelines that didn't conform to the regulation form that's used. So we just consolidated that and put it into the guidelines under I believe number 5. 4080 is educator and administrator ethics. The Kansas State Department of Education on their webpage has guidelines and administrator ethics and teacher ethics. This policy reflects most of that information, but it does add some what I call aspirational language. In section A, you will see educators' responsibilities to students. We have added that they serve as a role model and set and reflect high academic and behavior standards. So it's more, if we expect our students to do well, we, as the adults, have to set high expectations for them and model the behavior that we expect out of our students as far as behavior. Also, there was some language added to B, educators related to making comments or acts that are discriminatory. And as my son always said, my favorite word, any inappropriate language or words. And then under C, there's added the requirement that, which is basically, it would appear to be a basic requirement of everyone that we treat everybody with dignity and respect. 4085 is the maintaining professional staff-student boundaries. Before, it basically talked only to students, but it's important that all staff, all of our employees maintain professional boundaries, particularly when they're working with others. The district works very hard to stay out of the private life of our staff members, but we don't want them to bring their private life either to the workplace and have inappropriate relations with other staff members, particularly during the duty day or during our work time. There's a place for your private life, there's a place for work, and we're focused on work and doing the best we can for students. And then 4085 5-01, that regulation. It's basically cleanup edits, and the cleanup edits were really just changing the titles. If any employee suspects that there is a boundary issue, some staff member is violating or the boundary issues between them or with another student, it is required to be reported. The policy says that you report to the principal, a counselor, another administrator, but ultimately the reports would go to Ms. Sharp and Ms. Wallace. Their titles are updated. We generally don't put titles in policy or regulations, but in this case, it's very important that people know who, and we have the right people who they report to. I'd be happy to respond to any questions, or if you have any questions between now and the next board meeting, please let me know, and we'll make sure, we want to make sure that everything is spelled correctly and the words are used precisely and correctly.
Ms. Molly.
So I need a clarification on policy. So we hire somebody and they are expected to follow through with this policy. You use the words highly recommended in an explanation of the policies, but these are expected of our employees and our
Right.
students, correct?
Right. In addition to the 900 laws, state laws requiring or setting forth how schools are to operate, the law, board policy, once you adopt this, has the force and effect of law. So it has to be followed. The only flexibility is if it says shall, legally obligated, everyone's obligated to do that. If it says may, it allows a little bit of discretion. But any shall language in the statute or policy, we have to comply or risk non-compliance, which could include liability.
Thank you. That helped.
Dr. Bombrig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do private schools have to follow similar policies?
No. They are private and they're not under the, they go through an approval process with the State Department of Education, but they generally are not under the same requirements. Those 900 laws, they have the choice to choose who they want to allow to attend their school and allowed to remain in their schools. Let's say discipline code, the due process for teachers, the due process for students, not required of private schools.
Naturally, it's all part of our legislature's plan to destroy public schools.
It also keeps us in line.
Yeah,
It keeps our employees in. They're good. They're good to have.
but it's pretty intense.
Other questions for Ms. Whiteman? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Whiteman. I think up next is just a discussion on the calendars of Mrs. Wallace.
Yes. So I thought I would start with just briefly sharing a little bit about the process. So the calendar committee is chaired by the NEA president and myself. So Mr. Livingston and I chair that committee. It's made up of teachers, board members, district and building administrators. And the last 2 or 3 years, we've added classified staff. Also parents and student representation from the high schools. So we then develop 2 proposed calendars that we put out in a survey to all staff. So this year, the calendar you have in front of you, Calendar B, received 81.7% of the vote from the over 1,000 staff who participated in the survey. Of those staff, about 65% of them were certified staff, and about 22% of them were the 9.5 hourly classified staff. And then the rest were a mixture of administrators and 12-month staff. So this is the calendar that we are presenting for approval by the board.
Ms. Wallace, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Can you speak to maybe the big difference between this calendar and some of the other options?
Yes. So this calendar is very similar to the calendar A. The significant difference was this has a week off in November during Thanksgiving, and the other calendar started 2 days later and had 3 days off. There aren't a lot of different options when you're trying to get 190 days between the beginning of August and Memorial Day.
Thank you. Is there questions? Yes, Mr. Munoz.
There's a multicolored day, and I don't think I've seen that before. I'm principally looking at August 5th as well as May 2nd. It's a half.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me more
So,
about that. Yeah.
Yes, so those are the professional development days and the teacher planning and prep days. So the blue days are, or the blue colored days are professional development days, and the green are teacher planning and prep. So we have designated those days. So on the 5th, half of the day is district professional development, which has been the convocation. And then the other half of the day is teacher planning and prep, which is also in May, that last half day is professional development after kids leave at 11 or 11:30. And then the following day is teacher planning and prep.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? The other thing I found insightful on our conversation earlier, Mrs. Wallace, we had talked about kind of the timing of the survey. And in years past, we have done the survey after Thanksgiving break. And so there was a thought, are we affecting the results by giving it after they're off for a week? So do you want to speak to that for this year?
Yes, so we were intentional this year in that we actually had the vote open for the 5 days before Thanksgiving break to just ensure that we were being balanced in our opportunities and that it wasn't creating any kind of bias, having it right after a whole week off.
Dr. Baumbrake.
So of the 190 days, how many days are student seats in the seats?
173.5.
Aren't they supposed to be in 180?
We have 190 days, and that is a combination of professional development, teacher planning and prep, parent-teacher conferences, and when you add all of those in, it's 173.5 days that kids are in school. Now, we do get to count some days or some time during professional development and during parent-teacher conferences as instructional time.
Anything else for Mrs. Wallace? Okay, thank you, Mrs. Wallace. And then up next, we have discussion on the Boswell Park agreement. I don't know if there's further discussion. I think everybody feels pretty comfortable. Most everybody feels pretty comfortable with where we're at. And so if there's not any resistance, I'll move on to action items. I will say we're going to add potentially add an action item. Normally we, as Mrs. Whiteman mentioned, we talk about it at a board meeting and then bring it back. It does seems appropriate that we move forward on the calendar, given the support for the calendar. But we'll move through our other action items first. So we have 21.1, approval of the high school course changes.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the high school course changes as discussed at the last meeting.
Is there a second on that? Dr. Bonebrake, discussion on that? Okay, we'll look for a vote.
Vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mrs. Lister. And then 21.2, I think we do have action on that.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the joint resolutions of the Board of Education of USD 501 and the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners authorizing the exchange of certain real property and approving the contract for the exclusive use of the county Central Park Gymnasium.
Is there a second on that motion? Mr. Tatum? Further discussion on that? Okay, we'll look for a vote on that.
The vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries unanimously.
And then we have the extra
This one will.
by raise of hands.
By hand.
Yep, we'll do it old school.
All right, Mr. President, I move the board approve the academic calendar option B for the upcoming school year as presented by administration and the calendar committee.
Is there a second? Dr. Bonebrake. Dr. Bonebrake got it. Any discussion on that item? Okay, if not, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And nobody's opposed. I rose it. Yeah, motion carries.
Unanimously, thank you.
Don't. Thank you, Mrs. Lister. And thank you, Mrs. Schmidt, for coming up with those motions in the last hour. That was very well done. So we'll go to comments, and I'll look to Dr. Bonebrake for his comments for this evening.
Well, health insurance meets next week and finance met before the last meeting, so I don't have anything else to add.
Wow, that is fantastic. Dr. Beeson.
Health insurance next week. I don't have any other committee updates. My family's part of the Whitson Elementary family, and so I just want to acknowledge Isaac Reynolds in particular and what his family is going through with the loss of a child, which is entirely unimaginable. And I also want to compliment the Whitson community on just how graciously and with such empathy and care for one another they've navigated this week of losing a child, and thank the district mental health team in particular for being there this week. I know that was incredibly impactful for staff and students.
Thank you, Dr. Beeson. Ms. Bully.
I have no committee reports, but I do want to let the community know and the rest of the board that we're going to have a TIF meeting tomorrow and talk about our way forward in the TIF processes in the city of Topeka. Also got to go to Soul Stories that was at Robinson, and it was really a wonderful wonderful thing to attend because they were able to have a shoe and tell their story on the shoe. And they used paint and pencils and markers and whatever they had there to tell their own story through their shoe. And it was really interesting to have the students explain to me why they were doing what they were doing on their shoe. There's lots of music across the district, everybody. Get out there and see the music and all of our elementary buildings, middle school, it's out there. You go find it if you want some wonderful Christmas and holiday and other cultural music, please come out. I'm really looking forward to Monday. Our leaders across the county in our schools are going to talk to our legislators, and I'm really excited about them standing united, one united voice, to talk about why public school is so important for our community and our future in Kansas. we'll have a 12 o'clock board meeting. I don't know if we were going to announce that, but the 12 o'clock, our next board meeting will be 12 o'clock.
Steal my thunder, Ms.
Yeah,
Foley.
sorry. Wanted to thank Washburn University and Caw Valley United Way for their donation to Scott Dual Language. They made a tremendously large donation to that school, and it will be so useful for that community there. So thank you so much. Also, I wanted to ask Dr. Anderson, are you the WIBW Santa? Darn it. I want to find that Santa somewhere. Is Gary's hand up? Are you the WIBW? Oh, and that. Anybody in here, the WIBW Santa? And then I would like to ask, I would like a little bit more information about our state data that came back from our state assessments. I would really like for us to dive into that and understand how the district is diving into that, and our motions forward with that. Maybe start with reading. I don't care where you start. I would just like for us as a board to dive into that more and really decide where we're going next to improve in those areas. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Kip. You're my man. Thanks.
Is he the Santa?
Are you the WIBW Santa?
Thank you. Ms. Foley, on the TIF meeting, do you have more details as to that meeting, the when, the where?
We will be meeting here in this
It's here.
room.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
And our attorney will be there.
Great. Thank you.
Are we in this room? At 3 o'clock. And so she'll be here, so it can be more than
Well, I can't.
one of us.
I can't come. I wasn't
Okay.
sure. Okay. Thank
But
you.
we'll do some reporting out on that.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue. Mr. Tatum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think I have any committee reports. I don't think finance has met yet. And policy was last week, but I wasn't there. My colleagues had to carry the water because I was at the dentist getting, last week I had 2 fillings and a root canal. So, well, I'm doing well now. Oh yeah, I'm in great shape now. I wanted to say thank you. I'm not sure who gives us these cards, who makes these holiday cards. Looks like there's an artist, Charlene Bruckner, a senior at Topeka West, who drew the picture for these cards, but we always get these wonderful holiday cards to pass out. And whoever is responsible for getting those to us, oh, wonderful. Okay, so there's a variety in there. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I will. Lindsay Tummy from Hope Street Academy, and she's in the 12th grade as well. So these are wonderful. I love it. Thank you for whoever's arranging for board members to get those. The only other thing I wanted to say, I wanted to give a shout out for those that are unaware. We have some fantastic teachers here in the district, and recently KSNT did a story on one of our Topeka High teachers, Jennifer Antonetti. She's the band director, and she is being recognized as the November Everything Woman. And I absolutely second that motion. I've known Jennifer for a long time, and she was also when Olivia was in band at Topeka High. She was Olivia's band director, and shout out to her for doing such a great work with our kids. I know she's very passionate about what she does, and we're proud to have high caliber educators like her who are impacting our kids each and every day. So I think That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum. Mr. Munoz?
As Mr. Tatum mentioned, we did have policy committee a short while ago, and we did make some last minute adjustments to some of our social media work. And as you saw earlier, when we discussed it, it's a lot of just tightening up and getting rid of things that we just aren't using. For instance, technology, some of our documents there. So we'll have that and we'll vote on it again in 2 weeks. I visited Cap City and met with Principal Randy Wild there. Visited his, I think, some 50-some students there, and had a good time meeting some of the staff, the students who were there, and the teachers who do an amazing work trying to make the material sort of engaging for students, given sort of the obstacles and circumstances that students are dealing with, and meeting them where they are, I think, which is what most resonated with me. You have to have teachers who really care about students to sort of do the work that's necessary there at Cap City. So that was appreciated. I also attended Robinson and Soul Stories. So I met with teachers and students who were working on their stories, right? Their why, their sort of guiding, the story that they're telling about themselves. And so I found it interesting the way that the material there worked to try and help individuals guide their first draft. We all have sort of a draft of who we are. And so students were encouraged to sort of explore that. And that was very, very interesting. I enjoyed it. And I think the last two things, these are just sort of an FYI. I was at the mall. I don't know if people still go to the mall, but I still go and Highland Park, Highland Park football is having a fundraiser, their RIPS Christmas crew. And so if you are shopping and you want to drop your stuff off there, they will take care of all of that hard work. Lord knows that I wait till the last minute and it never turns out quite like I wanted. But if you want it to look nice, I encourage you to stop by Highland Park's football fundraiser, RIPS Christmas crew. And lastly, while you're there, stop by the Our Stories, the African American Topeka before and after Brown. Very interesting, the setup that's been there to sort of educate the public about Brown v. Board and its impact on our Black community. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Munoz. Mrs. Schmidt?
I don't have anything to add other than on our board agendas now, one of the last items is public notice of upcoming committee meetings, since the public is allowed to attend those committee meetings. When I looked at those dates in there, I did notice that the one for the Health Committee is incorrect. So we meet again on December 8th. So we'll just want to make sure and get that updated. That way, if somebody wants to come and join the wild party that is our Health Committee meeting, they show up on the correct day.
Woo! I'll flash the lights for the Health Committee. I echo Mrs. Boley. I don't have any committee meetings. We will have finance on the 11th, and then we will have technology on the 17th. So we have some stuff coming up. But our board meeting on the 18th is at noon. The Washburn donation from the Alshire Leadership, Alshire Center for Leadership, that went to Scott that you touched on. Also, some of that went to parents as teachers as well. So it was a $10,000 donation, with a good chunk going to Scott, but some of that going to parents as teachers. I again will thank the Madrigals crew. As a student at Topeka, I always wished that I was that cool, but I never was close. And then I thought Keith was going to speak to, we do have a teacher that was also honored by KSNT. The November Teacher of the Month was Andrea Graham, who is an elementary teacher at Jardine Elementary School. She's also a graduate of Topeka High. We went to school together way back in the day, and her daughter just is a senior at Topeka High right now. So congratulations to Andrea as well. And I think with that, all I need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second, and everybody in favor. Perfect.